So I promised this review of The Darkest Hour over a week ago, and I promised you all I was going to deliver. I even had it shot, mostly edited. It was ready to go on Christmas Day. Decided to wait a day because I didn't want to put it out on Christmas, and that turned out to be a big mistake. Because see, then I saw this tweet by this idiot, and by this idiot I mean former Governor Mike Huckabee, or as you might better know him as, the bigoted two-time presidential candidate loser who should probably take up knitting. See, the problem was, in my review, I made a prediction that some idiots might see Darkest Hour, then compare Winston Churchill to Donald Trump because, well, they're fucking stupid. And Mike Huckabee, proving that point, and also proving that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree because the tree is a rotting piece of shit, took to Twitter to sound just as stupid as his daughter does every time she steps in front of the White House press corps. This is what Huckabee said. Jesus Christ. First of all, Trump doesn't think Nazis are bad. Matter of fact, he doesn't just try to appease them like Chamberlain did, he put them in his fucking cabinet. He endorses their views by retweeting them on Twitter, and after white supremacists and Nazis murdered a young woman in Charlottesville, he actually went out in front of the press and said there were very good people on both sides. Both sides. This can't be understated. Like, he was given several points to, walk that back, and he never did. He kept going out of his way to say there were good people on both sides. He was literally sounding like the episode 3 scroller from Star Wars where it says there are heroes on both sides. Just for the record, space Nazis can't be fucking heroes. Regular Nazis either, but apparently Trump doesn't understand that either. Now, if you replace Nazis with refugees made up of mostly women and children fleeing a war zone, or the children of parents who came into this country illegally, or the LGBTQ community, or women, or the blacks, or the African Americans. Seriously, who the fuck says the blacks? I'm starting to find that way more offensive than calling us colored or niggers. If you substitute those groups or any other group other than straight white men, then yeah, maybe you could say that Trump is not about appeasement because he doesn't want to appease anybody who's not a white male. But then you'd also be admitting that he's just a fucking bigot. Also, for as unpolished as Winston Churchill was, I'm pretty sure he didn't need to use 2 hands to drink a fucking glass of water. I mean, seriously. First, Trump's dentures get fed up with the bullshit he's spewing. They try to escape his mouth. And now he's drinking water like a goddamn toddler using both his fucking hands. Like, seriously, you see that picture? It's fucking absurd. Sorry, Huckabee, but no one in the goddamn world expects or fears a man who needs to use 2 hands to take a drink of 1 cup of water. Anyway, on to the review now. Chris here with MTR Network, and I'm here to review Darkest Hour, which is directed by Joe Wright, written by Anthony McCartan, and stars Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill, Lily James as Elizabeth Layton, and Ben Mendelsohn as King George VI. This film takes place in May 1940, at the beginning of World War II, right after Neville Chamberlain has stepped down as Prime Minister, and his policy of appeasement with Hitler and the Nazis has clearly failed. Winston Churchill is selected as the new Prime Minister, but he's not exactly everyone's first choice, and this film focuses a lot on Churchill having to convince the Parliament, the King, and his war cabinet that pursuing peace with Hitler is a failed cause. I'll be honest, this film was so good, I forgot Joe Wright was in my doghouse for Hanna. Seriously, I fucking hate that film. Hanna is one of the first films that truly boiled my blood as a movie critic, and it has one of the most absurd and ridiculous fight scenes with Eric Bana I have ever seen. It's like all the fight scenes were shot in slow motion, but everyone is moving in full speed. They are absolutely ridiculous. Like, seriously, go look them up on YouTube. You'll find some of them. They're absolutely absurd. The film was such a letdown. And, Wright's last film was Pan, and that was also not really good. And when you get a person like Hugh Jackman and you still can't make a good film, it's kind of questionable here. So, but he's back in my good graces now with Darkest Hour because it's definitely his finest work. Then again, having Gary Oldman is pretty much a cheat code. I saw this video on Facebook that basically morphed Gary Oldman between all of his characters he's played over the years. And man, do we really not give this man credit for the work he's done. The first time I ever saw Gary Oldman in a role was probably Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is still my all-time favorite vampire movie. And Gary Oldman was fantastic in that role. He was Zorg in Fifth Element, Jim Gordon in the Batman trilogy, Sirius Black in Harry Potter. I mean, seriously, he's been in a million roles. In each role, he's transformed himself, and Darkest Hour is no different. The number one thing you've probably heard about this film right now is the performance of Gary Oldman as Churchill. And without a doubt, Oldman is definitely the front runner for Best Actor this year. And I don't really see it being close, to be perfectly honest with you. Oldman becomes Churchill so well, He's almost unrecognizable. I put it up there with Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln and Eddie Redmayne as Stephen Hawkins, which is pretty good company considering both of them also won Best Actor for those roles. But beyond just the looks, Oldman nails Churchill's speech patterns, and it's uncanny. I went through YouTube to find some old recordings of Churchill's speeches, and the similarities are remarkable. It's funny because as I watched the screener, I found myself wishing I had put the subtitles on because at times I really couldn't understand what Oldman was saying because he was mumbling and slurring his words. It was really difficult to make out. But then I went and listened to the actual Churchill speeches, and I also see that he also mumbled and slurred his words as well. And it's just uncanny how well Oldman has pulled that off. Outside of Oldman, the rest of the movie is also well acted and does a top-notch job. Lily James plays Elizabeth Layton, who was Churchill's personal secretary, who would type Churchill's memos, speeches as he dictated to them. Her character serves as a good view of Churchill from someone that's outside the peripherals of the inner circle, but not quite. There's some really good moments with Ben Mendelsohn as well, between Ben Mendelsohn and Oldman in this film, from their awkward scenes at the beginning of the film to the end where King George comes to Churchill to tell him he's going to give him his full support. It's wonderful seeing two good actors playing off each other, and you definitely get that with these two. Everything in this film is leading up to Churchill giving his famous Never Surrender speech. Obviously, we all know history and know that Churchill was right to take a hard stance against the Nazis. But this film does a good job of dramatizing that, so as an audience, we can understand why what Churchill was suggesting took some convincing. They present Churchill as more of a man of the people and going with his gut. Now, okay, so this is weird, and I'm going to go somewhere, but I don't want folks to get too upset with what I'm about to say, so just let me finish. Just hold on and let me finish. At times, I got like a Trump vibe from the way Churchill was presented, and what I mean by that was he was very unpolished, didn't say the right things all the time, could be loud and brash. There's a moment in this film where Churchill meets some of the French, and it's just embarrassing to the point that the French think he's an idiot. And I totally see why someone like Trump, or people who like Trump, will look at Churchill and try to mimic that be loud and bold and never surrender attitude. But the thing that someone like Trump and the people who like him miss, and something this film captures, is that Churchill believed in the people and not that he was above them. There are several moments in this film that show Churchill being compassionate. There's a really sobering moment when he shows Layton the dire situation in Dunkirk on a map. And earlier there was a scene where Churchill had to make a call to, in essence, sacrifice the garrison at Calais to, in order to buy time to save the men at Dunkirk. And at the time, it was like shown as like it was a callous decision. He didn't care that he was sacrificing the human life. But then in the scene with Layton, it really shows that Churchill is very aware of the cost, but believes the cost is necessary and is higher if they don't stand up to the Nazis. There's another great scene when he's on a train talking to the people. The film shows Churchill as being forceful and bold, but not for himself. And it's not for his own appearances, but for the British people. Also, there's this whole never surrendering to or catering to Nazis thing that Trump doesn't seem to understand. So when people compare the two, it's very surface level only. And I think this film does a really great job of separating the two. All in all, this film does a really great job of showing the moments in the man leading up to the speech. Now, there are definitely some liberties taken with certain scenes in this film. For instance, at one pivotal moment, Churchill is seen sneaking off to ride the train in the underground with the British citizens to get the pulse of the people. The filmmakers say this event at that point in time was fictional and was used to dramatize the film. However, they say that Churchill was known for sneaking off and walking among the citizens to get a feel for how the country was feeling. So while not exactly true, the film tries to at least pull from known things that did happen. And again, it's a really great moment in the film, and it doesn't bother me that much. So this film also serves as a good complement to Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan's film. Since they're both set around the same time, in Darkest Hour, Churchill makes the decision to activate the civilian fleet and launch Operation Dynamo to save the soldiers trapped in Dunkirk. It largely skips over the rescue mission, though, and then it just ends with the speech. I think Dunkirk is more of a visual film, while it's clear that Darkest Hour is more about the performances. But it's like you could probably watch the beginning of about 3/4 of Darkest Hour, then switch over to Dunkirk, watch that, and then come back to watch the Churchill speech. So there's that. I'd give this film a 9 out of 10. Personally, I love films about World War II, and while not 100% accurate, I think this film dramatizes and takes liberty with the right things while still keeping the general core of reality. As I mentioned, Gary Oldman is fantastic as Churchill, and he should run away with the awards this season, this Oscar season, because I don't see anybody else even coming close to the performance he did. I mean, he just really, really nails it. And I mean, if there's nothing else with this film, just knowing how close and how well he was able to kind of just mimic the mannerisms, the speech patterns, and the look. I know they used prosthetics and they really made him look a little bit like Churchill's too. I mean, it is an amazing thing they did here, and I think for that alone, this film is amazing and great. But also just as a film, I think it moves pretty quickly, and I thought it was really, really great. So I think people, if you understand Churchill, you know Churchill. If you know about the speech and what was going on at this time, I think you would really enjoy this film. Like I said, I think it does a really good job of doing a complimenting what they did, what Christopher Nolan did with Dunkirk there. So. Well, there you guys have it. That is my review for Darkest Hour. As always, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment and like this post. Let me know what you guys think. If you checked this movie out and you enjoyed it, let me know. Shoot, you know what? In the comments, let me know what your favorite Gary Oldman movie is. Maybe it's not Darkest Hour, maybe something else. So, but let me know. And stay tuned. We have plenty more reviews coming, plenty more videos coming. Again, if you're a fan of the podcast, thank you guys very much. Subscribe, Movie Trailer Reviews on iTunes, Stitcher Radio. And until next time, folks, later.